Like to join. This would be great.
Yeah. She's coming.
I'm going to start, and I'm going to tell you all a little story. It was a clergy day, and clergy had these clergy day things at different times in different dioceses. In Southwest Florida, we called it Ash Thursday because it was always the day after Ash Wednesday. So our bishop was speaking to the group, and he said, "By the way, I have now been here 2 years, and I've been to all your churches, and some of you all are doing some pretty strange stuff. So," he says, "I want you this morning to think about your order of service or different things that you do that maybe you or your congregation may think, oh, this is what everybody's doing on Sunday morning. And really, you all are the only ones doing this." So he said, he told a story about when he was in northern Indiana and there was something that happened and he decided, I'm going to die in this ditch over this if I have to, but we're going to change something particular. So the morning went on, and at lunchtime, I went to the bishop and I said, "Say, Bishop," I said, "there's a birthday prayer that I inherited when I came to the particular congregation." And he says, "And how does it go?" And I just knew a few words. I said, "Yeah, it's something about your birthday in heaven." He says, "Do away with that." He says, "That was the ditch I decided I would die in if I had to, is to get rid of that." He goes, "It's a very unusual prayer that somehow got moving around in the Episcopal Church." So that Sunday, I went back, I explained to everybody we were going to start using one of the two birthday prayers that are in our Book of Common Prayer, which are both beautiful. And I explained that, we were just going to try and use the Book of Common Prayer. Not one person ever asked why we quit using that one that they'd been using for 17 years. No one said a thing about it. So today, what I would like us to do is to get into small groups of 2 or 3, and you all are worldly enough in the Episcopal Church and been around it enough. In these groups, think about, is there something that we do here at St. Luke's that may be kind of unique or different or special, and it may be something that is a wonderful part of the culture here? Or is there something else that you think, hey, this is a time, maybe we can get this changed. This has bugged me for 25 years or something like that. So what I would like for us to do is to get into smaller groups so everybody gets plenty of time to visit with each other, and then we're going to come back together and see if we can hear some of these. It'll kind of tie in when you hear my sermon, if you weren't at the early service, about perspectives of our church, perspectives when we're brand new, perspectives when we're kind of new, perspectives when we've been in a church forever. It's like, I'll talk about it in announcements. We did a trunk or treat at a church that I was in Jackson, and there was a couple in their mid-80s that was one of their favorite events at the church, because they could just pull up, park the car, throw open the trunk, put out their 2 garden chairs, and young people came and decorated for them, and boom, there it was, good to go. But they provided a car, they provided a contact for all these little kids getting to see this couple and to meet them, and for that couple to see all these little kids. So sometimes, try not to fall back to the, oh, I work and I can't, or I'm retired and I can't, or I'm left-handed and I can't, or, whatever things that we come up with sometimes for, why we can't, but maybe, hey, I could do that. I could open the trunk of my car. So let's do that for about 15 minutes, if you all can get into groups of 2 and 3. Think about what those things might be.
Brian, good to be with you. Hey, Jeff, why don't you come over here? So things you like and things that bother you. Yeah. We don't he said he'd fire that when the fire was down. It's probably probably the arrangements and some of the governments are usually not. The issue is, as you mentioned, being down to 2 services. Because traditionally speaking, that's how a lot of churches it's said service. And then like the they're all yeah. But not many people, of course, the late service, they do that. So it is what they're I'll tell you one thing I would like before COVID, really
Have we seen in other churches that they like to see that our experience? Same day.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we moved out here into they were reading the Clark.
They should put you in the lake with you. We lived us down in
That's one come up. Where is that church?
You go past the main intersection, goes to 4A. For the research. I mean, that may come from both services, but I think that's still. But I mean, when they did the church profile last time, in Clergy Forum. The last time you guys did a full calendar, was actually before Justin, so now. But if we got a number, then that would be very thriving. What else would you guys like to see? More proactively in groups.
No matter what it is.
One of the things that I was talking about doing I was talking about possibly doing spirituality and and have it be like, do like maybe 2 a month or something like that. One would be like family friends and then maybe one. Is there anything specific in this church or the Episcopal church you think that we can leverage?
I know a lot of people, I'm here, come in to different. There's people who drive by and stop by the car.
That's how I found when I was driving around tonight. When I started my online real estate classes, and I was going to be at Kevin Williams' Travis office, I was just going to drive around 620 familiarizing myself with some of that high-end neighborhoods. That's actually when I came by March of last year, and I came back a couple weeks later for Easter. So I think that there may be some issues with the diocese. So
You can make money off that.
it's nice to go ahead and get the honorary. I'm not sure. I think they are, but like, generally, with community notes, they want to be, I would think people would be married here, maybe just kind of rich or something like that for wedding reception all the time. Like that would be a concept. Pretty good, yeah. Sure. There's a company that does it for churches. Yes, so you could actually have the app that you could for free. They can see the schedule of events, and the profile, and then also you could send your notifications as well. Relatively cheap, yeah. The only thing to make sure that you have consistent content going through.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have a couple people that are on it, you know, if not every day, at least multiple times a week, updating things. But that goes back to having that more events.
And I think that.
There's only so many times you can say, well, it's getting very important.
Yeah, that probably so, you know, a lot of times when people come here, there's a function.
Yeah, but some of our islands are very
Well, it seems like this happened right there. La Nina is supposed to be over. I remember, I guess about 7 years ago. I got back. And about a mile or so wide.
Why don't we try and wrap up nothing about 2 or 3 minutes at your table?
Wait, October 15th. Churches. We love it. People are
They did.
That was pretty good, the kids got paid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we were the same. So we don't really take travel always. We go through and say, look, so we came here one time. Let's say, man, back then.
Yeah.
I like all the two because it's insulated.
Okay. Hello. I'm going to ask the table in the back corner if you all would share some of the things that came up in your table.
Okay, well, first off, I wanted to, I don't know how many people here were here yesterday, but yesterday, you did a wonderful job. You were fantastic.
Thank you.
And, I love, actually, we didn't actually talk about this, but this prompted this memory. I wish I had brought this up a few minutes ago. Okay, the choir wasn't in the thing, but the choir members that were here were in fact, it was beautiful.
Yes.
It was kind of cool. Like you couldn't see them, like I knew who they were and I knew that they were there because I was like, because I was over on the side and I was like, oh my gosh, the choir did this. It was beautiful. So it doesn't matter where I know they're not here to take the compliment, but.
It's true. They were. You felt them throughout the congregation too.
And so a couple of things we talked about was, and I know it's come up before, but what's really missing would be a way to, was contemporary music. But we do understand the dilemma right now with the transition, not to have, a full praise band. But if there was a way that we could just incorporate some contemporary music that the choir could sing, and maybe some people who, since we bring in instruments for Palm Sunday or for Easter, or, we're going to put a flute and trumpet or whatever, but if it was a guitar, anyway, a way to, maybe a good start would be Advent, since Advent's coming, but definitely the holidays would be kind of fun. And this was something that I noticed, and then I know Blakely's been here a while, so he noticed too, but the kids' church, meets down here, and they used to come up during the peace, and then everybody settled down, and then there would be birthday blessings and anniversaries. And I've noticed lately, just because I know a lot of the families and I know the kids, that there's this huge chance of the kids missing their birthday blessing because there's not enough time for them to finish their lesson, get up there in time for that blessing, then do the peace. And I was sort of noticing, then the kids used to come up during the peace, just because I've been involved with ushers so long in youth, that if we were able to just switch that so that we have the peace, and maybe even whatever the announcements, whenever.
Right.
And I do love that, by the way. I love the announcements in the middle, catching everybody, and they're full attention. So yeah, if there was a way to logistically maybe move that birthday anniversary blessing
After the peace, okay.
it would be nice for those kids not to have to ever worry about missing their blessing. And those are the things we talked about.
Excellent. Nice job, y'all. How about the three of you?
Some things that we would like to see. Contemporary music came up again. More events generally. We have the men's group event coming up next month. I think we could have more and more consistent things there, and also youth groups. Obviously, we could do more to get young people here to come and then also stay, hopefully, into they're older. In terms of sort of marketing the church, maybe having more, trying to get more weddings and other events in the facility, because one of the positives we have obviously is the location in the facility. And then perhaps using SEO and social media for more outreach toward people who are nearby that maybe we are not capturing in that sense. But we're very positive on everyone thinks that the actual worship here is great, that the core group of people who are here all the time is very strong. It's a good group of people. We do a lot, and we do have the location facilities. So I guess it's a matter of leveraging some of the things we already have in order to.
Will the Episcopal Church let people be married here that are not Episcopal?
Yes, they will. Usually what it calls upon is the rector be present for the service. And that's usually, you know, and each rector, it's up to their discretion, so that would probably be a call from your new rector. And, you know, whatever customaries are set down. The thing that is a little bit more difficult that people sometimes have a hard time understanding is in the Episcopal Church, as my bishop in Mexico explained it, God did not intend for anyone to be born and be miserable all their life, i.e. married to somebody that made you miserable. So there is divorce, obviously, in the Episcopal Church. However, to remarry, the priest has to receive permission from their bishop, not the couple, the priest. And so the premarital counseling goes over what happened, what lessons were learned, and if there are children, they're minors and such, are they being provided for? And I've never had a bishop say no. So, but I think that's one of those things that's the beauty of the Episcopal Church, that, you know, we do get another chance at that. And it takes a little more work. So that being said, for somebody coming in from the outside, you know, that would be the same requirement, because it wouldn't be right that anybody could just, you know, rent, say, the space and come in and have a marriage, and then Episcopalians are being, you know, put through a different set of standards. So that's.
If this became a wedding venue, we'd probably be booked 48 weeks out.
Then why can't it?
You could probably make $5 grand a week.
Well, we got a great asset here.
No,
You know?
it would change everything. It would change everything.
Well, there's a little Episcopal chaplain in Lake Tahoe that looks out on the mountains. It's one of the old-fashioned, you know, high altars up against the back wall. It's all logs, and it's glass looking out the Grand Tetons. And it's only open 12 weeks out of the year. So it is booked for weddings. You know,
We went to
way,
church there when we went to Lake Tahoe, we had here.
so.
Beautiful.
Now,
One of the things that you mentioned was prior churches that I've been involved in have had the children come up before they go off to their classes and get the lesson. So then they come back.
I've seen it done that way too. You all, let's try and keep one conversation going here. The thing with that sometimes is it's such a short block of time that the teachers have to work with the kids. And that just sort of chisel another 5 or 10 minutes off of the time that the teachers have to work with. That's, you know, one way of, you know, considering that.
I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. No, my mom's church was like that, and it was the honor of whatever child was chosen to carry the cross in that day. And one Sunday morning, I was visiting, and a little 5-year-old girl had the cross, and she was bouncing, and the kids were kind of pushing behind her. And this booming voice just came out, and she just said, "Get behind the cross." All these older kids all did what this 5-year-old said, they got behind the cross. All righty, thank you. How about y'all in the middle?
Well, and one of the things we talked about was how this kind of impacts, or what some of our experiences have been. So for instance, when I first came, I was just not upset, but shall we say, maybe a little irritated that we kneeled all the time instead of standing, you know, to pray and have our. So it was a change for me because other churches I've been in were standing. So, but we just had to figure out at home, well, I did,
because Dad was coming anyway. Anyway, he, we just decided that if it was about Jesus, it was okay. It really didn't matter. So, and the same thing with, the kids, it's 22 years ago I came down, the kids, if it was about the children, then it's okay. Anything we did, parish. So, you have to, I think you have to have those kind of personal ways to figure out if change is going to be okay for you,
Right.
I personally believe that when we make a commitment, we should stay. Unless people start doing, weird things at the altar. I don't know. So we all said, pointed out, that it's really just important to, when you see things that are changing, are our core beliefs staying? Are those roots strong? And then you can kind of live through anything, rectors but we always do have, and Jan pointed out, we always do have people who leave when things change. They just don't.
Did you know even the big box churches, that their membership flips over, people last about 5 years in a big box church?
What's that now?
People last about 5 years going to one of the big box churches.
Oh, really?
It's gotten to the point that they too have ministries, exit ministries.
Like turning in a car and doing,
I just think that that's really important too, that we all feel like, I don't know, I love coming, now that I've been here long enough, that, people recognize me, they smile at me, they're happy to see me, they'll say sit here, well, not necessarily in my family. Say sit here.
We have a family, church family.
Yeah, we do.
But that's why it's so important to figure out who these new people are and start feeling that way. And I just don't ever know how to do that. I'm always embarrassed to say, hey, are you new? Because and they're like, no, I've been here 30 years.
You can use the mask excuse, just say, I sort of lost track of phases over the last little while,
That's a good idea.
Instead of asking them, have you been going to a different service, I can just say, sometimes I go to a different service, but I'm like.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, well,
but I do it all the time, because everybody knows.
Use the mask as an excuse.
So I really think if we could somehow make people feel like that we were excited to see them.
Yeah.
I think we always say welcome. I don't think we're unwelcoming.
No, we're doing.
I don't look at them like, I don't do that. But, somehow we could make people feel like we're excited to see them. I don't know if that's possible. I'm not good at hospitality. No.
I think you all do an excellent job at the front door. The tricky part is the next step.
Or tell someone, because I get that a lot, because I will hear, because people just assume I know everybody, because I'm busy all the time, but they'll come up to me and just say, there's somebody over there and they look new, and then I'll say, and if I'm not sure, then I'll do that, or make sure that Barbara or Nancy or, one of the ushers or somebody will say something to somebody, because that's been happening a lot lately.
Yeah.
Do you know what is a comment that is made at a lot of churches is, we're a friendly church, but the ... is to one another, but not necessarily, to a visitor. Because it's hard to invite that visitor on into that next level and such. And I think that's where you all are getting started at that, but that's hard. Just like you say, you go like, oh, you deal with this person over here, they're new, And yes, some people are a lot more comfortable, they're more extroverted doing that and such. But even the introvert can just find one person. You don't have to go out there and welcome everybody that comes in on a given Sunday. So, but it's that taking somebody to that next step, to call them up and say, hey, you want to park your car next to mine at the, Oktoberfest, just giving that new person, and new can include anyone that's been here 5 years or less, just a tie-in, some way that they feel like they've been included.
But anyway, That's it for us. You know, we're worried about people leaving, change. I think that was the overarching theme of our talk. We're anxious about that. You know, we don't want to lose people, especially those that we like. I've never, you know, this is why I'm not so.
Jackie, you always are honest and eloquent, so keep doing it.
Okay. Last but not least.
Okay, we started out by thinking about things that we want to get rid of. And then it marked over to things to keep. Okay? We had a great discussion about greetings and how they do a great job. And they've been doing it for a long time. You can always get better, just as you pointed out. And then, like you said, the next step, after you say, well, you know, introduce yourself. That's right. So we had a great discussion about that. And then we all love the barbecue pit. And those guys out there, and have fun. And I can't wait to see what their day looks like. Yeah. So, yeah, these little things that make me happy. And some things to resurrect. Now, I've been here 42 years, so I miss Young at Heart. We used to have a great group going here, Young at Heart. And we have a speaker, we have a lunch, we go out to lunch and do this different thing. So we'd like to resurrect something.
How often do y'all meet?
How long?
How often?
Oh, once a month.
Okay.
Once a month. And it was a great group then. We were in it. Maybe you had it. I don't remember.
I wasn't in it, but I remember in the beginning that it was available. I remember us briefly, Ryan and I, because.
Oh, you thought you were gonna go?
We thought, I was a tweener, because we're full into our 60s, way into our 60s, so now we'd totally be right in there. But 20 years ago, I thought maybe we were too young for that. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know, because I just thought it was something that you had to be older, but I didn't know what older was, now I do.
Well, speaking of that,
I agree, that would be awesome.
so speaking of that, I first became an Episcopalian beginning in San Luis County, Maryland. They had a little Episcopal church, and I would go on Sundays. I was Church of Christ, but I was the only church I could go to was not Catholic in San Luis County. And I fell in love with that church, and eventually became a member of the Episcopal church. But anyway, they, in their little book, and they talked about the Young at Heart people, and I said, well, I mean, they talked about the young people's, where are they? And they said, oh, it's us, we just didn't change our name.
That's great.
Anyway, the other thing we'd like to bring back is the flags. Now, when Malcolm was here, there was a big connection with the lightweight generals and all that. Well, I mean, it was like great. I mean, it was the biggest thing going. And they kind of just started disappearing, you know. And
They had a flag for every state,
oh, it was wonderful. And
on
you
the
can-
sides.
and in our history book, you'll see pictures of that. But we'd like to bring flags back. Okay,
Whatever happened to them.
They're all still around here. I've seen
Well,
them.
they're just off to the sides. What happened is they were on the altar, and I took care of that pretty much for the last 17 years, but when COVID hit, and they had to turn the altar into all electronic for the camera, they had to move so many things logistically with the lighting and the windows, and the flags worked their way to the corners and then worked their way off the altar to the sides. And then with COVID, the acolyte number dwindled to very low because of COVID. And so then that acolytes were the ones that carried the flags. And so all of that just went away. And so now, and then now we're post-COVID. So I like that.
I will say-
I like that suggestion.
I will say that we have made a good connection with our sponsored Boy Scout troop, Troop 201. And on patriotic holidays now, they are delighted to carry the flags. And Kim does a great job instructing them on the proper way to do it and which direction to go and how to discuss appropriately. So it's not that we never put the flags on the altar, we just reserve it for particularly important observations of patriotic holidays.
I think that's definitely a post-COVID thing, and it's a retro thing. we get a rector, that would be something that.
And you know, you're so right, because that's one of the things different rectors in different congregations are very strong about.
Just also adding, the discussion, like what we were just discussing, and we're alluding to is the church and the scout integration, so that those ceremonies can take place more than just once a year, but possibly over other events, Veterans Day, other, because I think it's just, which is the event that it takes place now. But just for scout and church integration, since we do sponsor a scout group here, we can get more youth with the scouts involved in those processions to bring that back, so to speak.
Well, I know.
They do process more than once a year.
Well, we're just trying to.
I know, I'm just letting you know that.
Well, I know, the first time I came here, I think it was to meet the vestry, and there was a service of the scouts going on in the church. And one thing, that was a special service just for them. However, in Jackson, we had Boy Scout Troop number 1 at St. James, and their pinning of eagles, everything took place in the course of a regular Sunday service. So that was the way you got all those parents and such there on a Sunday morning. And it was always so neat when you ask, how many Eagle Scouts are in the congregation today? And it's amazing to see how many guys stand up. So that would be a way to possibly integrate the scout troop in with this congregation. And both could benefit, I think.
One more thing I put on my list is
Opportunity to integrate the church and the youth, that's what we were discussing a lot.
and when Roman was here, he got a lot of the new parishioners to go to Cursillo. And it made a huge growth in our church, in the depth of our church.
Wait, do you know what year that was?
Oh, I have to look it up. It was when Roman was here.
Well, he left right after 2000, shortly after 2000. So, 2005 maybe.
I'll tell you
So it would have
what,
been sometime before that.
what kind of happened nationally across the diocese in the country. I went to Cursillo back in 1978 in Dallas. I had to wait 9 months to get to go. They had one every single month, and still, because they would only allow 2 people from each church. They didn't want a particular Cursillo being stuffed with a bunch of people from just one church. And it was actually Paula Jameson and I went together from our church way back then. We were just out of college. And her parents had sponsored us. But now, fast forward, diocese can barely get enough people to do 1 or 2 Cursillos a year. So it's almost like it plateaued out. And remember, the idea, the concept of Cursillo was about further developing spiritual leaders. And so it kind of just peaked out, and EFM sort of did the same thing. I know some of you all have been through EFM.
I'm
And
sorry, what is EFM?
Episcopal for Ministry out of Swanee.
Isn't it
Sorry,
called
Episcopal what?
Go ahead.
Education for
Yeah.
Ministry?
And it's a 4-year course, yeah.
Yeah, I did it in Virginia.
So sometimes what happens is things just sort of plateau for a while, or all the people that are interested. Like we asked one time at St. James, how many of you are EFM graduates? 120 people stood up. So, but it's kind of like, but now what for this group of people? And so that's, how do we kind of stay on that wave as the wave's going, and then catch that next wave as it keeps on going? Yes, sir.
So I wanted to talk about what Jackie mentioned about the standing versus, because I know Father Justin was pretty much, he was strongly in favor of trying to encourage people to stand more than kneel. But everybody obviously was so accustomed to kneeling. And I noticed that when we have new people in church and then everybody starts kneeling and they're standing, they kind of look around and kind of, you can see that they feel uncomfortable, and what am I supposed to do? So there's some, that's something that we maybe consider as a church, because I think new people that come are not familiar with, if they're trying to find a church, but they're not really Episcopal
Right.
participated, that might be something that kind of throws them off. I know when I grew up in the Catholic Church, every friend I ever had came to the Catholic Church would say, what the heck is all this up and down? And that kind of really drove them crazy. And it's something they can think about in the parish, and we should try to encourage everybody to understand it at certain points, and then kind of make other people feel more comfortable.
Well, you know, it is funny, it's, especially if you go to any, like an ordination or something, you got a whole slew of clergy, and you got 20 or 30 priests, and they're all up right in the front pews. And you come to those points that it's optional, you can kneel or stand. The problem when all those clergy stand is all those people behind them can't see a thing what's going on. So that's one thing. I prefer to kneel. The problem is the way it's set up and such, there's really, yeah, it's difficult to kneel up there. And I hate for our kids to lose it. Some people, because of physical things, just can't kneel. I know after I had my knee replaced, I asked the surgeon, I said, am I gonna be able to kneel? He goes, mechanically, yes, there's no reason you can't, but for some reason people complain about it. Mine's never bothered me. So it's more of a personal call, going back to what I suggested. The early day in the Episcopal Church, when you arrived at church on Sunday morning, you went into the church, you bowed at the pew, you scooted yourself in, and you prayed. It was a quiet time right before the service started. And you kind of got yourself, you know, mentally, you know, in that place ready to go. So it is a hard call, and my concern is for newcomers who look around and go, what's going on, you know? And when to do things. It's like when I first got here with you all, and you all were quickly trying to kneel for the collect. Now the collect has like 2 or 3 sentences in it. And the noise, by the time everybody's pulling down kneelers, getting their bulletin squared away, boom, the collect's over. And I bet you 90% of folks didn't get to hear it because of all the, you know, other things going on. So that's why it makes so much more sense, like for the collect, to just stay standing where you were at. And then when you say, please be seated for the readings, everybody can sit down. So some things actually originally did make some degree of sense. And then over the years, they've been modified and such. But look in your Book of Common Prayer. It explains to you basically, you know, when to stand, when to kneel. My father, a Presbyterian, used to drive him nuts. You know, why can't they make up their mind at the Episcopal Church if they want to stand or not? You know? So this has been an ongoing challenge for folks.
The 10:15 bulletin has instructions about kneeling, standing
Options.
throughout, that mirror what is in the Book of Common Prayer. We can just make that.
Any other questions on that one? That is a tough call. Any other thoughts on things that disappeared along the way and you would like to see given a little more water to grow again? Boy, Brad, you walk in here and the whole place shuts down. Any other thoughts? Yes.
I'd like to see how somehow we can assist those Lorianne in bringing it over. I think adults need to become more interactive with the children, so that the children know that adults are welcoming of them and want to be around them. Adults of all ages, even age ones. So I just would like to see more of that and see how we can help them and embrace the children so they're not afraid of adults.
Well, I think they're, what are they handing out this morning? Something, it's popcorn or something the kids are handing out. Is everybody?
So Lorianne has parked a car in front of the church to demonstrate to everyone what a trunk or treat car could look like for next Sunday at Oktoberfest. And, yeah, she's handing out popcorn to the kids this morning.
Right, and right after the first service, a young man said, this is from Trunk or Treat.
Yeah, he handed them out to everybody that came out of the early service.
Justin Diver, gotta love that kid.
Yeah. And just another commercial for the Thursday morning Eucharist at 10 o'clock. The idea behind that was several folks had asked about bringing back a midweek Eucharist. Instead of doing it on Wednesday, we decided to do it on Thursday so it could dovetail with Mike's class that he's got here. I think it starts at 10:45. And so far, we've had like 2 or 3 people show up. So I hope, some more folks can be coming a little bit earlier and take advantage of having a Eucharist right before the class. We'll give it 90 days to see how it goes and then reassess at that point. Any other thoughts? Anything else in there that you die in a ditch for? Well, I hope everybody can come to Oktoberfest. That's, the Episcopal Church, we have our saints and such, and they get tucked away sometimes, but I hope this is a good celebration. I think St. Luke would be impressed. Well, thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Let's all stay